Universidad Austral de Chile. Libertas Capitur. La libertad se conquista.
The Silent Way. The Silent Way is the name of a method of language teaching devised by Caleb Gattegno. Gattegno's name is well known for his revival of interest in the use of colored wooden sticks called cuisinière rods and for his series Words in Color, an approach to the teaching of initial reading in which sounds are coded by specific colors. His materials are copyrighted and marketed through an organization he operates called Educational Solutions Incorporated, in New York. The Silent Way represents Gattegno's venture into the field of foreign language teaching. It is based on the premise that the teacher should be silent as much as possible in the classroom and the learner should be encouraged to produce as much language as possible. The Silent Way shares a great deal with other learning theories and educational philosophies. Very broadly put, the learning hypotheses underlying Gattegno's work could be stated as follows. 1. Learning is facilitated if the learner discovers or creates rather than remembers and repeats what is to be learned. 2. Learning is facilitated by accompanying, mediating, physical objects. 3. Learning is facilitated by problem solving involving the material to be learned. Let us consider each of these issues in turn. Approach. Theory of language. Gattegno takes an openly skeptical view of the role of linguistic theory in language teaching methodology. He feels that linguistic studies may be a specialization, that carry with them a narrow opening of one's sensitivity and perhaps serve very little towards the broad end in mind. Gattegno 1972, page 84. Gattegno views language itself as a substitute for experience, so experience is what gives meaning to language. Gattegno 1972, page 8. We are not surprised then to see simulated experiences using tokens and picture charts as central elements in Silent Way teaching. By looking at the material chosen and the sequence in which it is presented in a Silent Way classroom, it is clear that the Silent Way takes a structural approach to the organization of language to be taught. Language is seen as groups of sounds arbitrarily associated with specific meanings and organized into sentences or strings of meaningful units by grammar rules. Language is separated from its social context and taught through artificial situations, usually represented by rods. Theory of learning. The learner must constantly test his powers to abstract, analyze, synthesize and integrate. Scott and Page 1982, page 273. Silence is considered the best vehicle for learning, because in silence students concentrate on the task to be accomplished and the potential means to its accomplishment. Repetition, as opposed to silence, consumes time and encourages the scattered mind to remain scattered. Gattegno 1976, page 80. Silence, as avoidance of repetition, is thus an aid to alertness, concentration, and mental organization. The retaining system allows us to remember and recall at will linguistic elements and their organizing principles and makes linguistic communication possible. Design. Objectives. The general objective of the Silent Way is to give beginning-level students oral facility in basic elements of the target language. The general goal set for language learning is near-native fluency in the target language, and correct pronunciation and mastery of the prosodic elements of the target language are emphasized. An immediate objective is to provide the learner with a basic practical knowledge of the grammar of the language. This forms the basis for independent learning on the learner's part. The syllabus. The Silent Way adopts a basically structural syllabus, with lessons planned around grammatical items and related vocabulary. Gattegno does not, however, provide details as to the precise selection and arrangement of grammatical and lexical items to be covered. There is no general Silent Way syllabus. Types of learning and teaching activities. Learning tasks and activities in the silent way have the function of encouraging and shaping student oral response without direct oral instruction from or unnecessary modeling by the teacher. Basic to the method are simple linguistic tasks in which the teacher models a word, phrase, or sentence and then elicits learner responses. Learners then go on to create their own utterances by putting together old and new information. Charts, rods, and other aids may be used to elicit learner responses. Learner roles. Gategno sees language learning as a process of personal growth resulting from growing student awareness and self-challenge. The learner first experiences a random or almost random feeling of the area of activity in question until one finds one or more cornerstones to build on. Then starts a systematic analysis, first by trial and error, later by directed experiment with practice of the acquired subareas until mastery follows. Gategno 1972, page 79. Teacher roles. Teacher silence is, perhaps, the unique and, for many traditionally trained language teachers, the most demanding aspect of the silent way. Teachers are exhorted to resist their long-standing commitment to model, remodel, assist, and direct desired student responses, and silent way teachers have remarked upon the arduousness of self-restraint to which early experience of the silent way has subjected them. Gategno talks of subordinating teaching to learning, but that is not to suggest that the teacher's role in silent way is not critical and demanding. Gategno anticipates that using the silent way would require most teachers to change their perception of their role. Stevic defines the silent way teacher's tasks as to teach, to test, and to get out of the way. Stevic 1980, page 56. The role of instructional materials. The silent way is perhaps as well known for the unique nature of its teaching materials as for the silence of its teachers. The materials consist mainly of a set of colored rods, color-coded pronunciation and vocabulary wall charts, a pointer, and reading, writing exercises, all of which are used to illustrate the relationships between sound and meaning in the target language. The materials are designed for manipulation by the students as well as by the teacher, independently and cooperatively, in promoting language learning by direct association. Procedure. A silent way lesson typically follows a standard format. The first part of the lesson focuses on pronunciation. Depending on student level, the class might work on sounds, phrases, or even sentences designated on the Fidel chart. At the beginning stage, the teacher will model the appropriate sound after pointing to a symbol on the chart. Later, the teacher will silently point to individual symbols and combinations of symbols, and monitor student utterances. The teacher may say a word and have a student guess what sequence of symbols comprised the word. The pointer is used to indicate stress, phrasing, and intonation. Stress can be shown by touching certain symbols more forcibly than others when pointing out a word. Intonation and phrasing can be demonstrated by tapping on the chart to the rhythm of the utterance. After practice with the sounds of the language, sentence patterns, structure, and vocabulary are practiced. The teacher models an utterance while creating a visual realization of it with the colored rods. After modeling the utterance, the teacher will have a student attempt to produce the utterance and will indicate its acceptability. If a response is incorrect, the teacher will attempt to reshape the utterance or have another student present the correct model. After a structure is introduced and understood, the teacher will create a situation in which the students can practice the structure through the manipulation of the rods.
Universidad Austral de Chile. Libertas Capitur. La libertad se conquista.